can scream and shout with all your might.
Yes, we're back. We'll try to wrap up this stack.
Dig in your heels and hold on tight.
Hold on ever so tightly.
Either you are wrong or I am right.
Hot tea. Yummy on a nice cold winter's Colorado day like this. And do not forget the third possibility. I keep having to remind everybody of this, and I have to remind you again. The third option. You are wrong, and I am right. And most likely that's what's going on. But you'll get used to it, because that's just the way it is when you're confronted with somebody of my incredible intelligence, good looks, humor, and sexual stamina. In the control room, of course, is the lovely and adorable Randy. Here in the recording studio is myself, the lovely and adorable. Okay, I guess lovely and adorable might be a stretch. Yeah. Here in the recording here in the recording booth, myself, Skip Doggy Dog, here at Stating the Obvious, brought to you from the Cynical Libertarian Society. The email address, before I forget, because I always forget, the email address where you can send your feedback, commentary, your love, your hate, your rants, and your raves is sto@204eastsouth.com. So, that's that. Did we cover? And of course I should again credit the theme music for Stating the Obvious. That is David Gilmour off his album About Face, and the song is aptly titled You Know I'm Right. That's why I chose it as the official Stating the Obvious theme song. Either you are right or I am wrong. Yes. True words. Alright. This is a letter to the editor. Interestingly enough, I've seen this in a couple of different places. You know, I'm really not certain. Yeah, I was trying to remember if it was the same name at the bottom of the letter each time. One way or the other, it's the same letter in multiple publications. I just want to read this opening paragraph. George W. Bush is goofy, light-hearted, and charismatic. For all I know, he might even be somewhat honest, despite evidence to the contrary for his administration. But one thing he is not is a supporter of democracy. Beginning in middle school, I have learned that the foundation of a democracy is the principle majority rules, minority rights. Now let's talk about how incredibly stupid this is. First of all, the foundation of a democracy is the principle majority rules, minority rights. Since when? Where? Show me a democracy that has had this for a foundation. The democracy in Athens most certainly didn't believe in minority rights. They didn't even necessarily believe in majority rule. The majority of the people didn't rule. This is why, and you know, yeah, see, I don't know where to start here. I never know where to start. I just get so pissed off. Hot tea. First of all, we don't live in a democracy. These people still, after over 200 years, these people still cannot grasp this very simple concept that the United States of America is not a democracy. It is a representative republic. It's a republic for a reason. The reason it is a republic is because a democracy is essentially just mob rules. The majority gets to do whatever they want. As I sit down and kick my feet up. God, I love this chair. Hot tea. Minority rights. Majority rules and minority rights. The majority is not supposed to be ruling. The thing that is supposed to be ruling is the Constitution. You wouldn't know that from the behavior of our government. There are these things called the 9th and the 10th Amendments, which are pretty much completely ignored. Aside from that, the idea of minority rights. There are no minority rights. This is a construct of liberals. This is a construct of Democrats. Everybody has rights, not just minorities. There are not, and there now. Granted, there are in our society today, but there are not supposed to be special rights for the minorities. Everybody was intended to have the same rights. Well, okay, that's true. When the Constitution was written, everybody was not intended to have the same rights. That's why slaves were counted as, what was it, 2/3 or whatever. Slaves were counted as less than a person, and of course women couldn't vote. But the point is, and I mean, sure, that was a product of their times. We have to acknowledge that as a reality. You don't have to like it, but you have to acknowledge it as a reality. The idea that, and see, this is exactly what we're trying to get away from, is that there's different sets of rights for majorities and minorities and all this other stuff. Minority rights, everybody is supposed to have rights. And later, of course, continues with a bunch of whining about George Bush. But yeah, I just need to think that needs must be pointed outed here. Pointed outed. We need to point it outed that we do not live in a democracy. We live in a representative republic. The majority is not supposed to be ruling. The Constitution is supposed to be ruling. The state governments and local governments should be ruling, not the federal government. And there are no minority rights. There are supposed to be rights for everyone. And this whole thing of rights, anyway, because, one of the problems with our society is this idea of rights to begin with. We've gotten to this point where people believe that until you're given a right to something by the government, it doesn't exist. And this is a completely backwards-ass way of looking at things. The government cannot give you freedom. The government can only take freedom away. When people say, well, I have a right to do such and such. No, you have a right to do anything originally. When things first started out, when the first human being walked around on the earth millions of years ago, that person didn't have any rights granted to him by a government, but that person was free to do whatever he wanted to do. You see my point here? Governments cannot give you a right to something. Governments can only take things away. If a government tells you that you have the right to drive down the street on the right side of the street, that doesn't mean they've given you the privilege of driving down the street on the right side of the street. You could do that before. What they've done is they've taken away your ability to legally drive on the left side of the street. Now, that may be a bad example, and maybe it is, because that's an example of something good. I mean, the government should take away everybody's ability to drive on the left side of the street. That way we all drive on the right. We don't run into each other. But my point is, right, exactly. Well, we can go back. Yeah, we can go back to that. Thank you, Randy. Did I mention the lovely and adorable Randy? I did mention the lovely and adorable Randy. I'm sorry. No, I was so entranced by your beauty that well, okay, beauty is a harsh word. I was so entranced by your cute and adorableness that, yeah, there you go, cute and adorable. That's much more fitting. By your cute and adorableness that I had forgotten whether or not I had acknowledged that you were there. Now I forgot what I was talking about. Oh yes, the government, drugs. The government, when the government, let's say one day the government decides that people have the right to use marijuana for medicinal purposes. Now, everybody's going to think, oh look, the government, they've given us a right. Wow, aren't we lucky? And all those people should be shot in the fucking head. Because no, the government hasn't given a few of you a right. The government has taken the ability to smoke marijuana in a non-medicinal purpose away from everybody else. The government cannot give you rights. The government cannot give you freedom. The government cannot give you privileges. The government can only take. It can only take away freedom. The government cannot give freedom. I don't think I can explain it any simpler than that, because, you know, I can only dumb myself down so much. And this next column, this is a piece of shit. Oh, God. This is from, by the way, this is from Scene magazine. This is a local throwaway rag from here in the People's Republic of Fort Collins. And now this column is entitled Mandatory Voting, a Possible Solution. It's written by this really ugly chick named Ann Wallace. I know she's ugly because her picture is on here. She's got big teeth. And I know some of you are saying, well, you shouldn't make fun of the way people look. Well, you know, fuck you. Alright, this is my show. I can do whatever I want. If I want to make fun of the way people look, I can do that. Well, if people want to make fun of the way I look, that's great. I give a shit. You know, I mean, if anybody out there wants to make fun of the way I look around the website. There's pictures of me. You'll find them. I'm ugly. Make fun of me. I don't give a shit. I'm still right. I can be ugly as a motherfucker all day long. I'm still right. That's the beautiful thing about being... That's the one thing about me that's beautiful. Yes! Well, that's not beautiful. It's long, but it's not beautiful. Of course. Anyway, back to mandatory voting, a possible solution. Let me read some passages here and give you a little response. Unfortunately, voter turnout in the United States has now dropped to a level some would consider a national disgrace. Reasons vary from simple complacency to complexity of ballot issues to inconvenience to not registering in time. This is very sad to me. There must be some sort of explanation, and there has to be a solution. And you can tell this chick's a Democrat, other than the fact that she's ugly and she thinks she should be forced to vote. See, here's the other thing. Democrats always believe in freedom, but they're always really happy to force people to do things, like, for example, not smoke marijuana, or to finance welfare, or to pay for abortions, or to vote. So there has to be a solution, she writes. Why does there have to be a solution? This is typical communist, liberal, conservative, Republicrat, Bush, Kerry type thinking. There has to be a solution. And because the unspoken, as you'll see as I read on, the unspoken part of this sentence. See, this is what she wrote. There must be some sort of explanation, and there has to be a solution. But this is the sentence that she meant to write. There must be some sort of explanation, and there has to be a solution which can be put into place by the government. She continues here. Alright, wait, I didn't finish that thought, did I? See, these people always think that everything can be solved by the government. And I know some of you are saying that's not what she said. Well, just let me finish. Aside from that, the title of the thing is Mandatory Voting, a Possible Solution. Now, who's going to make it mandatory to vote? I'm pretty sure that would have to be the government doing that. I continue reading. It is a recognizable problem that so many people refuse to vote, so would it be that unreasonable to require them to do so? Some would hope that this development would create heightened awareness among the general population. Mandatory draft registration and mandatory taxation laws are in effect. Why not mandatory voting? No society could function if its citizens did not fulfill their responsibility to pay taxes, and a failure to do so can result in severe punishments. Why not treat voting the same way? Sure, insisting that citizens vote is restrictive, but so is requiring us to register for the draft, pay taxes, or serve jury duty. Would this really be all that different? Over 30 democracies across the globe have compulsory voting legislation, including Italy, Belgium, Switzerland, and Singapore. Is it really that big a deal? We can force people... I mean, yeah, we force people to pay taxes. We force people to register for the draft. What the hell? Let's force them to do one more thing. You know, this is the crowd of people who said, well, you know... We put most of the Jews in a concentration camp and gassed them. Hell, we might as well put the rest of the Jews in it. So her logic here is because the government already forces you to do things, that it's okay for the government to force you to do other things. Look, if you can't get off your ass and go register to vote and take the time to vote, then you shouldn't be voting. We don't need, this is not what we, and again, this is, all of these things like motor voter and all this other stuff, and mandatory voting, these are specifically designed to get people who are too stupid or too lazy to vote, voting. And the reason that Democrats want these people to vote is because they know these people are going to vote for Democrats. Because Democrats are going to stand there and say, well, if you vote for us, we'll give you more welfare money. The evil Republicans are going to cut off your, going to cut off your Social Security and throw your grandmother out in the street, and they're going to make your life miserable, and we're going to give you everything because we care about you. And one more example of people trying to get the stupid, the lazy, the ignorant, the idiots in the voting booth, because the stupid, lazy, ignorant idiots are the only people who will vote for them. Hold on, I'm reading my notes here. Let's see. Yep. Yeah, because this is the only way Democrats can win, is to force people to vote for them. I continue reading. There would certainly be a lot of opposition in the United States if the government implemented compulsory voting laws. Conservatives would be the first to scream that it's unconstitutional, but they also fear that mandatory voting would greatly increase the number of Democrat voters. After all, it's typically the minority population who tends not to vote anyway. In fact, in the 2000 presidential election, 22 million single women of voting age did not vote. Whip-de-doo. But again, here she just, this is great because I wasn't reading ahead. I swear I was not. She just proves what I just said. The only reason she wants to force these people to vote is because she thinks they're going to vote Democrat. And not only that, but it's insulting to these people that these Democrats think that all these people are going to vote Democrat. I mean, if I were forced to vote, and if I were forced to vote for either a Republican or a Democrat, I can guarantee you that on a national level, oh, that's why that was in here. Yeah, sorry. That was on a national level, I can guarantee you that I'm probably going to vote Republican, just because I hate Democrats so damn much. Right. On a local level, seeing that's why that article about the purple America was in here. If you've listened to these things way back in the pre-election thing, I pointed out that people tend to vote Republican nationally and Democrat locally. And here these idiots came up with the purple America concept. I'm sure you've seen the mess, whatever. Anyway, and they're talking about this, and they're going, yeah, we discovered that people tend to vote Democrat locally and Republican. And like, you people are fucking morons. I've told you, I've known this my entire life, and you people are just now discovering this shit. Just one more example. As if we needed another. Just one more example of why I am smarter than the rest of you. But the other problem with mandatory voting, and again, the only reason we're interested in this is because Kerry lost. But now that Kerry got lost and Bush won, at least here around the People's Republic of Fort Collins, I see all these tags, spray paint signs on the walls. Oh, excuse me. Randy, edit the yawn out. I know it's too late. Never mind. We don't do any editing here. These are straight up. Here around the People's Republic of Fort Collins, you see all these little tags everywhere that say voting is a sham. And of course, again, this is only because Kerry lost. But they're telling us the voting process is messed up. Which if Kerry would have won, we'd be hearing about how the voting process worked right. But if voting is a sham, then what's the point of forcing people to vote? The Democrats' this is what's great about the Democrats, is they always manage to have an excuse. Their excuse, the minorities weren't allowed to vote. The voting is, even if all the minorities showed up and voted, no matter what happens, there's always going to be an excuse. They're going to say, well, the minorities were disenfranchised. Or they're going to say, well, the voting system was fraudulent. They're going to say, well, the computers were made by Republicans. And all this other... And, with the voting thing, everybody wants to act like this is so goddamn difficult. I think this is one more indication that Americans are too stupid to live in a democracy or even representative republic. Anyway, I mean, we're certainly too stupid to live in a democracy. By that I mean a real democracy. I mean, how hard is it to take a piece of paper and to check off either Bush or Kerry or the Libertarian or the Green or the Socialist, whatever, and you take the piece of paper, you stick it in a box, then somebody takes the papers out of the box and they count them. Everybody's talking about with the computer voting, how they want a piece of paper to confirm. You can tell these people are completely fucking illiterate, because try to follow me here. If you have a computerized voting machine, and let's say that you go in there and you're going to vote Kerry. So you touch the screen where it says Kerry, and it says your vote has gone to Kerry. And it prints out a piece of paper that says you voted for Kerry. Now the computer in the software can still tally your vote for Bush, even though you voted for Kerry. That piece of paper doesn't mean a fucking thing. You can't prove anything with that piece of paper. You can't come back and say, look, I have a piece of paper that says I voted for Kerry, but Kerry lost, so I want you to prove. I mean, you can't prove anything with this. If we didn't live in a country that was made up of people who are so fucking stupid, we could vote like normal people do in all these third world countries. You get a fucking piece of paper, you check your thing off, and you stick it in the box. You have a bunch of people count the ballots. You have them counted and recounted and multiple counted to make sure one person's, and there you go. And you've got actual paper evidence that anybody in the world can walk in there and look at these stacks of paper ballots and count them. With a computer software, you can't do that. Right. Yeah, I know. It would. Oh my God, it would take more time. That's true. Counting pieces of paper might take more time. But see, here's the problem, though. As a fucked up society as we are, we want instant gratification. We want to be able to know who the president is when we go to bed on November the 2nd. And let's be honest, nobody really gives a flying fuck about a fair election or whatever. They just want to know when they go to bed. That's why we have to make all this computerized. Why we make it so fast and quick and everything. What would be the problem with having paper ballots and taking a week to count the fucking things? Then all these people who are whining, I'll tell you what the problem is. The problem is that all these fucking Democrats who whine about how the system is broken and how their candidate really won would be, they wouldn't be able to do this anymore. Well, it's lukewarm tea now. It's certainly not hot anymore. So there you go. I am totally serious. I am not kidding. I am totally serious. Paper ballots. The fuck with this computer shit. Paper ballots. Yeah, it would take a while to count them. People would get over it. All right. I'm trying to decide which way I want to go here because I got two possibilities. How are we doing on time? 23:45. Okay. I think let's just get this out of the way. Samantha Spady. For those of you not from the People's Republic of Fort Collins, this name will mean nothing to you. This is from the Saturday, September the 18th newspaper. Over a 10-hour Over a 10-hour time period, Samantha Spady consumed the equivalent of 30 to 40 drinks, mixing beer and hard liquor. The 5'6", 126-pound CSU sophomore who died almost 2 weeks ago had a blood alcohol content of 0.436. A BAC content of 0.40 is considered potentially lethal and would usually lead to a person lapsing into a coma. More hot tea. Now, so here's the rundown for those of you not familiar with this. Spady was found dead in a room, the second floor bedroom, of a fraternity house, the Sigma Pi fraternity house, which has since then been shut down. Not a surprise. The gist of this is that she drank a lot of booze, and she died. And now CSU is coming unglued. They have created... Oh man, I really do need... Where is that, I wonder? You know, now that I've started this, I'm almost tempted to let this slide until I've got the other... Alright, we'll just come back to it. When I find it, we'll revisit this. CSU has now formed a alcohol task force to protect students from drinking. Now, of course, everybody says that this is not a knee-jerk reaction. And of course, in fact, where is it? They're in Boulder, in the People's Republic of Boulder. There's a college student there who died also. They came up with a plan, and it says here, the plan will include new alcohol licensing policies, code enforcements, and zoning laws in what city officials hope will help curb out-of-control student drinking. It should be clear this is not a knee-jerk reaction to one tragedy, Councilman Gordon Ringel said. And, you know, that's exactly what these things are. They are, in fact, knee-jerk reactions to single tragedies. And if I can't find it. It's got to be somewhere. Alright. Damn it, Randy, this is your fault. You're supposed to make me prepare better. Well, of course. You don't think I'm going to take the rap, do you? Of course I'm going to blame it on you. That's what I do best. But you are cute and adorable. Wait, is it in here? Is it in here? No, I knew that. No, yes, no. Nah, it's not here. Alright, look, the girl went out, she got drunk. Oh, I just ripped the newspaper. We have a rundown of her last hours here. Alright. She cruised to various parties, picking up alcohol here and there. She finally went to the frat house, and she wasn't feeling very well, so they put her upstairs to sober up. Last time they checked on her, they said she was okay. They found her the next morning dead. The first disgusting thing that happened was President Penley, is that his name? Like I care. I work at CSU. You would think I would know who the president of CSU is. I think his name's Penley. He's Al Yates' replacement. And Al Yates, God, I'm glad he's gone, but now he's got all his time to devote to his anti-smoking crusade. President Penley, of course, bemoaned all of this and talked about poor Samantha Spady, you know, and it was like, he tried to make it sound like he hung out with her at the bar after work and stuff. The man didn't even know she existed until she died. He's totally just trying to get his name in the newspaper and his face on the television. So we formed this alcohol task force, which I'm sure cost money. CSU doesn't have any money. They're cutting class sizes. They're cutting classes, increasing class size, but they got money for an alcohol task force. One of the first things they did was they banned alcohol sales at Hughes Stadium, which is where the football games are played, which of course was brilliant, because that just meant that people in the parking lot drank a lot more beer. In fact, somewhere around here I have the quote from the police chief of CSU, who's saying that all this has done is make people drink more in the parking lot or drink more before they leave home. So, the two big things that this task force has done so far, because of, remember now, this is in I don't know how many years it goes back. I've lived here for over 4 years. This is the first time anybody's died from alcohol poisoning at CSU in the 4 years I've been here. But of course, they're going to swear up and down this is not a knee-jerk reaction to a one-time incident. What they've done so far is, other than, you know, slap Spady's name and face on everything. And needless to say, I shouldn't have to mention this, but obviously, you know, she's a 19-year-old. She's white. She's fairly pretty. She's, you know, upper middle class. I have to wonder if we'd be this excited about it. You know, I mean, what if this was a little 19-year-old black girl here in Fort Collins who worked part-time at Burger King and lived with her parents? What if she died from alcohol poisoning? Would anybody give a shit? I'm going to go out on a limb and I'm going to say no. The reason we care about Samantha Spady isn't because she died of alcohol poisoning. It's because she's white, she's pretty, she was a college student, and she died of alcohol poisoning. The idea that Penley and all these other cocksuckers, give a shit about people dying of alcohol poisoning is nonsense. They only care when pretty people die of alcohol poisoning, and they can use this to get themselves television coverage and newspaper coverage. And some people will say, I can't believe, some people are going to tell me that I can't believe I'm saying that. Well, you fucking better believe it, because it's true. I guarantee. If I ever, I guarantee if it was a little 19-year-old black girl who lived with her parents and didn't go to college and worked part-time somewhere, and she died of alcohol poisoning, Penley and all these other fucking cocksuckers, there's all kinds of cocksuckers on this little board, like I think the Lieutenant Governor of Colorado. I got to find the list. It's around here somewhere. When I find it, I will revisit this. These people would give a flying fuck about that. I'm telling you this. I'm telling you right now. I'm going to stand by what's coming out of my mouth. And fucking Penley can come talk to me himself about it when he hears this. The only reason he gives a fuck is because it was a pretty white girl. It's that simple. It's that fucking simple. Okay, so now here's what the little cocksucking alcohol brigade has done. First thing they did was ban alcohol at Yates Stadium. Now this is smart, because that way everybody will drink more in the parking lot. And actually, it's a good thing for the drinkers, because you can buy a six-pack, at the liquor store a lot cheaper than you can buy a beer at Yates Stadium. Or they're going to get ripped at home. Second thing they've done is they have banned alcohol at fraternity houses. And I mean, CSU's been looking for a reason to get rid of fraternities for ages. And I think they might be able to use this to drive the nail in the coffin and just shut down the entire fraternity system. Not that I care. It's, when it comes to college students, I can go one way or the other. On one hand, I understand, and I encourage them to have fun and, live it up while they can and everything. But at the same time, you know what? If the fascist college system wants to take away all their privileges and just treat them like cattle, that's fucking great too. Who cares? They're just college students. It's not like they're real people. Unless they're pretty and white and they die, and then you can get in the newspaper. So they've banned alcohol in fraternity houses. Now, see, this will work, because there's all these kids in this frat house, all these guys. They're in a fraternity. They want to party, but alcohol is banned. So what do you think they're going to do? Do you think they're really going to sit around the house and play checkers? No, they're just going to go somewhere else that they can drink. They're going to go to a bar. Or they're going to go to the house of somebody who lives not in a fraternity house and off campus. And of course, they'll go out to wherever they're going, and they'll get blitzed, and they'll have to go back to the fraternity house, which means that they will be driving drunk. Which means, of course, that they will get pulled over and get arrested. And then they will either pay the DUI fines, thus generating money for the government. And notice, always follow the money trail. Or they will need to get a lawyer to get out of the DUI charges, thus generating money for the lawyers. This isn't going to accomplish. I mean, this is the same thinking that we deal with every day. We made drugs illegal. Look how much good that's done. People still get drugs. We'll make alcohol illegal in the frat houses. That's not going to make the alcohol disappear. Aside from that, Spady didn't drink her freaking alcohol in the frat houses. I find the paper here that I ripped in half during my little spasm. Let me, if I can put this back together well enough to read it. Did you see? Alright. Okay. The friend, okay, see. And, I mean, they've got, like, street addresses and everything, man. So, she first started partying at 2019 Leacaster, where she was watching the football game. Then she went to another party where she got a supersize cup of beer. Now, normal, not just a cup of beer, but a supersize cup of beer. Then they went to the ATM. Then they ran into the median and had a accident. So they got picked up by some friends. They went to another party. Then they went to another party where she drank 4 or 5 beers and might have had several shots of not just vodka, but McCormick vanilla vodka. Boy, this is some thorough research here. Let's see. Now they finally went to the frat house where she got some beer. This is at 2 a.m. in the morning, by the way. It's... There's this great picture in the newspaper here of the police removing a keg from a frat house. Oh, God, it's so sad. The whole thing, the reason Spady... Alright. My brain's going faster than my mouth. Give me a minute to organize my thought. Yeah. It's not... When my brain does start working, it's scary. It's not very often this happens. We have to protect the students from the alcohol. We're going to do this by taking away their right to... Well, see, I'm as bad as a Democrat. Their right to drink alcohol. We're going to do this by making alcohol consumption and possession in frat houses illegal, without anybody figuring out that this just means they'll go someplace else to drink. But the whole drive behind the alcohol task force is that alcohol is responsible for killing this person. Therefore, we must eliminate the alcohol. There's no concept here of personal responsibility. And I'm not even allowed to say that. I mean, you thought I was evil when I said that Penley only cared about Spady because she was a pretty white girl. Wait till you hear what I'm about to say. The only person who killed Spady is Spady. She killed herself. The alcohol didn't force itself down her throat. She's 19. I'm sorry, but if you're 19 years old and you still don't know when to stop drinking, then you're a fucking idiot. I think this is part of the cultural problem we have around here, where we try to protect people. And this is a great example of what happens when you try to protect people from stuff. If we were a normal society where children could drink alcohol occasionally and figure this stuff out before they ever went off on their own away from their parents, then she probably wouldn't have died. But of course we pretend, and so 18-year-olds are smart enough to vote because they'll most likely vote for Kerry, or at least that's what Democrats think. And 18-year-olds are smart enough to join the military, but 18-year-olds are too stupid to figure out when they've drank enough beer. Now, I will submit that if, in fact, an 18-year-old, or in her case a 19-year-old, is too stupid to know she's drank too much, then these people definitely do not need to be voting. And again, this is why I support raising... And see, this is it. I'll go either way. I will meet you in the middle. We can go either way. I support either A, raising the minimum voting age to 30, or we can eliminate the minimum age requirements for drinking. I'll go either way. I'm willing to do that. If we can say that, if we can give 16, 17, 18, 19, 20-year-olds the ability to go into a bar and order a beer, then I'll be happy to keep letting 18-year-olds vote. But as long as an 18-year-old or 19-year-old is too stupid to know how to stop drinking when they've had enough, there's no way in hell you can expect me to believe these people should be allowed to vote. Excuse me. That was a nice big swig of water. What? Randy, that is not the right time, is it? What is the right time? No. Ah, boy, isn't that always... No. Where's Dolly clock? Trying to get the computer... Is it 5:30? One of the problems around here is that every one of my clocks has a different time on it. I know. It's because I don't really care that much most of the time. But I really want to wrap this up so I can go play a computer game. What was I talking about? Oh yeah, the fascist. Look. She's 19 years old. She needs to know when her fucking limit is reached. If she doesn't, she's an idiot. It's that simple. She killed herself. The alcohol didn't kill her. The parties didn't kill her. This alcohol task force, all they're going to do is what they've done. They're just going to further restrict alcohol. And I wish I could find this somewhere to make sure I'm quoting the right number. I swear to God. They're here in the People's Republic of Fort Collins. There's always a big deal about how many liquor stores and how many businesses with liquor license are within a radius of CSU. I'm going to go out on a limb here and try to run from memory. When I find it, I'll find it because I marked it. If I'm wrong, I will correct myself. If I'm wrong, that's funny. That was a joke. If I'm wrong, I will correct myself because, see, that's why I'm always right, and that's why I'm better than the rest of you. It's because when I make a mistake, I own up to it. If I remember correctly, this article said that something like 40%. If I remember the statistic, it was 40% of liquor stores and businesses with liquor license in Fort Collins are within a 1.5 mile radius of CSU. Now let me just explain why what I'm questioning my memory on is that exact statistic, that percentage. I'm pretty certain it was 40%. I did something that apparently nobody else is smart enough to do. I got a map of Fort Collins, and I measured a 1.5 mile radius around Colorado State University. And you know what's incredibly amazing about that? Is that, for those of you not familiar with the city of Fort Collins, if you look at a map, you'll see that CSU is more or less right in the center of town, going east-west, and is further to the north than the south. A 1.5 mile radius around CSU encompasses approximately, I would say, about 35% of Fort Collins. And of that 35% that it encompasses includes the downtown area. The 35% it does not encompass is a lot of the south side, much of which is residential subdivision type stuff. Most of the businesses in this town are on the north side. Most of them are along College, which is the main strip, which is right next to CSU, and many of them are in the downtown area. So imagine that. A 1.5 mile radius around CSU is almost 40% of Fort Collins. And why 40% of all the liquor serving establishments are within that radius. Isn't that incredible? That's like when your boss comes out and says, "We noticed that 40% of all sick days occur on Monday and Friday." Well, yes, they do. And for those of you who really don't understand what I'm saying here, it's called Lying with Statistics. And there's a book called How to Lie with Statistics that you should find. I'm sure you can find it on Amazon. So we're making this big deal out of something which is incredibly obvious. Yes, 40% of businesses in this town that serve liquor are within 1.5 miles of CSU. This is not a surprise. Fort Collins ain't that big, and 1.5 mile radius around CSU is pretty large. So, yeah, it's like I'm drifting from the point. The point being that banning alcohol is not going to save anybody. The simple truth of the matter is, if we really want to, and again, people are going to say, well, it's not a thing attempting to blame. It is about blaming. It's totally 100% about blaming. It is completely about blaming. If we need to blame somebody for her death, and we can't blame her because that's not politically correct, and because she's white and she's pretty and she's young, if we have to blame somebody for her death, we're going to blame the businesses that sell alcohol. We're going to blame... Yeah. Oh, yeah, exactly. We're going to blame advertising. Yeah, we're going to blame advertising. We're going to blame this. Here's the truth of the matter. Right, well, yeah, oh, definitely. They're going to blame, thank you. They're going to blame fraternities. You bet your ass they're going to blame fraternities. Interestingly enough, and I'm making an assumption here, but in all of these articles, I've always seen the word fraternity. I've never seen the word sorority. I'm assuming that alcohol has been banned in sororities also, but I don't know that for a fact. Okay, now I forgot. Randy, where was I going? No, train of thought totally derailed, because you started talking about sororities. It's your fault. Blah, 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 and then, I said they're idiots, and then, she's pretty and white, and we're going to blame somebody. If we need to blame somebody for Samantha Spady's death, and we can't blame her because she's pretty and white, let's keep in mind that the whole reason that she was here in Fort Collins to get drunk was because of CSU. If it wasn't for CSU, she would have been somewhere else, and she'd probably still be alive. My solution to stopping the college students from drinking alcohol, banning alcohol in the fraternities isn't going to do any good. They're going to drink somewhere else. Banning alcohol at Hughes Stadium isn't going to do any good. They're going to drink somewhere else. The only way that you can stop CSU students from drinking alcohol, exactly, is to either well, no, that's a good point. I hadn't thought of that. My solution was to get rid of CSU. But your solution works too. Get rid of CSU students. The only way is to either shut down the university or keep the university in action, but just don't take any students. That way all the little tenured professors that live in their offices and vote Democrat and don't know their ass from a hole in the ground won't have to go and get a real job. Well, no, we'll have to talk. Yeah, I'll talk about that in the future. Well, never mind. We'll talk about that later. So, I mean, that's the only real solution, and nobody's going to see that, of course. Nobody's going to figure out this. It's like with the school shootings, especially after Columbine, the school shootings became really big and in vogue, and everybody said, what do we do about these? How do we solve these? And nobody could see the one obvious commonality here, that every one of these public school shootings took place in a public school. The obvious solution, and you may think I'm being facetious here, and that's okay, but you're stupid. I'm totally fucking serious about what's about to come out of my mouth. The way you eliminate public school shootings is get rid of public schools. Why do schools need to be run by the government anyway? The fact that schools are run by the government is why they're run so badly and why they suck ass. Well, it's true. I mean, I have friends who are in high school. They tell me about this one guy I know. He was on the internet one day at school and doing some research about Vietnam, and he hits his website about Vietnam, and he says he's there like 15 seconds, and the computer Nazis shut him down remotely. They shut down his computer because he's looking at a website about Vietnam. I mean, they monitor these kids like they're in a fucking high-security prison. There's cameras all over the place. I know. I interviewed for a job there in the security department because I need a fucking job. Now, for those of you listening, I have a job. I just really hate my job. That's why I'm looking for another one. And I'm kind of glad I didn't get it because I'm pretty sure I would have hated this one too. Because, it's spy. I mean, I was in high school once, and we didn't have any of this shit. I mean, nowadays they have metal detectors and ID cards and security guards and searches. And I mean, what in the fuck is that? We treat these kids like they're fucking criminals, and then we wonder why they come to school and shoot people. That has nothing to do with Spady and alcohol. But this is my point is, the obvious reason that she's dead, if we're not going to blame her, because we can't, the reason she was here to drink, the reason she if it wasn't for CSU, she would not have been in Fort Collins. She would not have been with the person she was with that night. She would not have been able to go to any of those parties. She would have been in none of those circumstances, and she would still be alive. I mean, it's that fucking simple. If you can't grasp that, you should If you can't grasp that, you're probably a Democrat, so that means you don't have a gun in your house. So you need to go to your neighbor's house, somebody who's a Republican, and ask them if you can borrow their shotgun, and ask them to load it for you, because you won't know how. And then you need to put the barrel in your mouth, and they can tell you which part's the barrel, and you just pull the trigger, and you need to blow your fucking brains out. It's that simple. If we can't blame her, the only other entity that can be held accountable for her death is CSU. If it wasn't for the college, she wouldn't have been here. She wouldn't have done what she did. She wouldn't have drank what she drank. She would still be alive. Is CSU, is this little Nazi, alcohol, fascist team going to figure that out and shut down CSU? No. All they're going to do is tell students they can't drink. They're going to ban alcohol in as many places as possible. They're going to take a bunch of money that could be used for educating people by, say, for instance, paying teachers to teach classes, and they're going to use this to finance anti-alcohol propaganda. It's going to be all over campus. And there it is. None of you, of course, can see this. Randy is doing her Valley Girl impersonation. Yeah, there it is. Totally. See, you're so adorable. This is why you're here. Well, okay, yeah, and talented, but mostly adorable. How are we on time? 51:45. Okay, yeah, no. We are. Go ahead and... Oh! That's perfect! See, I am so good. I was about to tell the lovely and adorable Randy to go ahead and cue the music. But she pointed out that the music, it comes up at 52 minutes and 20 seconds. They're about, slightly, maybe what, 21 seconds? We're not going to haggle over a second. I mean, Bush still won, so there's no point in haggling. Oh, did I say that? Yeah, Kerry. Oh my God. I'm almost over it though. I mean, it was fun. It was a fun election. There were some boring debates, but it was a good time all in all. So what the heck? And I don't think the Democrats learned anything from it. Like, for example, that maybe if you weren't so much of a fucking socialist, maybe somebody would vote for you. But yeah, no. I mean, but in all actuality, it was a close race. I mean, it's not like when Reagan blew Mondale out of the water with, what was it, 58 or 59% of the popular vote. So, I mean, it's true. I mean, I can see the point that the Democrats make when they say that George Bush doesn't have a mandate. And it depends too, what's your definition of a mandate, and does anybody really give a shit about a mandate? I don't, maybe necessarily. But, Bush won, but yeah, he didn't win by overpowering odds. Overpowering odds, that's not the right statement. He did. He won against overpowering odds. I mean, I'd said it so many times I couldn't. Democrats found the one man who could lose to George Bush. But yeah, he didn't win by an excessive amount of votes. So we gotta keep all this. Yeah, we gotta keep all this in mind. No, you have to keep all this in mind. You're the Republican there, sweetheart, not me. I'm a Libertarian. I know, sometimes you think I'm a Republican because I spend so much time making fun of Democrats. But I'm telling you, it's because they're such easy targets, they're stupid. Alright, we're out. See you next time. STO at 204eastsouth.com.